2025. Roll call, please, Bethany.
Commissioner Harlow,
Present.
Commissioner Curry,
Here.
Commissioner Krillenberger,
Here.
Commissioner Jablonski is absent, Commissioner Cernovich,
Here.
Commissioner Willoughby,
Here.
Commissioner Fiasconi is absent, Commissioner Moore,
Here.
and Chairman Cashman.
Here. First order of business is any public comment for non-agenda items. Anyone want to speak on something not on the agenda? Usually not. Okay, we'll move on. Next is approval of minutes of our May 14th, 2025 meeting. Do the commissioners have any requested revisions or additions to the minutes? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve the minutes as submitted?
Krillenberger, so motions.
Second, Curry.
Roll call vote, Bethany?
Commissioner Harlow,
Abstain.
Commissioner Curry,
Aye.
Commissioner Krillenberger,
Aye.
Commissioner Cernovich,
Aye.
Commissioner Willoughby,
Aye.
Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Chairman Cashman.
Aye. Next are findings and recommendations. We have one tonight, case A-49-2024 for 133 East Ogden Avenue. Community Consolidated School District 181, Administrative Offices, Exterior Appearance and Site Plan Review. Do the commissioners have any requested revisions or additions to the findings of fact and recommendation? Well done, Bethany.
Yes.
Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve the findings of fact and recommendation as submitted?
So moved, Willoughby.
Second.
Go ahead.
Did more?
Roll call vote, please, Bethany.
Commissioner Harlow,
Aye.
Commissioner Curry,
Aye.
Commissioner Krillenberger,
Aye.
Commissioner Cernovich,
Aye.
Commissioner Willoughby,
Aye.
Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Chairman Cashman.
Aye. Next, we have sign permit reviews. We have three tonight. The first is case A-21-2025 for 22 West First Street, Lace Med Spa, installation of 2 wall sides. Is there someone here representing the applicant? Welcome.
Welcome, thank you.
Just want to give us an overview, and then if I have any questions.
Yeah, we're just, this is an identity change with the
Right.
same company, only a name change. And they're just changing signs like for like is what they're trying to do. And then reopen, basically.
Sounds good. Laurel, any questions?
I have no questions. Nope.
Cynthia?
Just one question. Why the increase in in the letters? It's almost double the size.
Actually, probably because of the length of that logo. If it was smaller, that logo would appear to be so much smaller. So they're trying to get it up to a size to where it's readable.
Find it again. Okay. And how tall are they again? I know it's
8
here.
inches. 8 inches on the front door.
And the side?
The whole sign is 2'10", but the letters themselves are 10 inches. And,
Total lever is 27 inches.
27, well, that's
For total.
actually the whole impact of the sign itself.
It seems everything in town is getting bigger and bigger. The letters, I wish it could come down a little bit. That's
I
my
think
personal opinion.
when you use such a light font, the font is so thin, it just makes it look so much smaller.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just an issue that people have with that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You can say 1/4-inch thick letters.
Jim?
Yeah, the sign says med spa, and the notation in the application says it's appropriate to the activity for which it pertains. Do you know what they're going to do there?
Honestly, I don't. I'm the sign erector. I don't know myself.
Are they gonna do something that relates to med or spa?
I would have bet.
I can speak to that, because it is just a rebranding, so we've approved their zoning in the past. They're doing a lot of beauty and retail on the first floor, and then the second floor, they're providing like medical spa services, so injectables or other procedures that you can do, which is
Great.
only allowed on their second floor.
Great, thanks, Bethany.
You're welcome.
Julie?
No questions.
Mark?
No questions.
Scott?
Quick one, is the lighting on a timer?
Yes,
I didn't see it on here, so just wanna make
the
sure.
lighting is on a timer, yes.
Perfect, great. That's it.
No questions? That's great. Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve case A-21-2025 as submitted?
So moved, Cernovich?
Seconded Moore.
Roll call vote, please, Bethany?
Commissioner Harlow,
Aye.
Commissioner Curry,
Aye.
Commissioner Kurlenberger,
Aye.
Commissioner Cernovich,
Aye.
Commissioner Willoughby,
Aye.
Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Chairman Cashman.
Aye. Our next is case A-26-2025, sign permit review for 114 South Washington Street, Pronto Italian Sandwiches, installation of one wall sign. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. Peter Birdie, on behalf of 114 Washington and Pronto Sandwiches. Yeah, it's just a replacement of an existing sign that was there, same kind of size, same kind of lighting. Pretty simple.
Okay. Scott, any questions?
I noticed a couple things, Peter, if I may.
Sure.
This is, I know that there's two businesses and you each get square footage allocated to the building and that they were not able to be at the Historical Preservation Committee meeting,
Right.
correct?
Right.
So it looks like this sign that you're proposing is about 65% of the allowable space.
Right.
Is the other party okay with that? I mean, is that?
Yeah, they've already agreed, and their signage is going to be, I'm assuming, on the back of the building,
On the
whatever is
alley.
left. Yeah, whatever's left from the 100%. So if we took 65, they got 35. I'm assuming.
Okay.
I think Bethany might be able to address that. And I know they had a little sign that they put on the front, so I'm not sure. I think in terms of square footage for the entire building, I think it meets the requirements.
It does.
It definitely does, but I just, in other words, if you take up almost all of it, not that you're doing that, but I just want to make sure that
Oh,
there's
no, that
enough
was-
space
yeah.
for the other tenant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, we discussed that, and he's my landlord, and yeah, we're all good.
So he's the landlord.
He's my he's my landlord, right?
Got it, okay, that works. Thank you, that's my question.
Question?
That sign permit will come to our next plan commission meeting as well. And
Yeah.
it's a projecting sign, so they wanted something that was a little bit smaller.
Perfect.
They did put like a permit exempt sign, I think, on the front, just as more of a directional item.
Yeah.
But I think it's my understanding everyone was okay
I
with
just
the
want to make
split.
sure we're all okay.
No,
with
no,
it.
I understand. Yeah, no, we worked that out, of course.
Yeah,
I mean,
cool.
I wouldn't want to take all the sign and he has nothing, but ultimately, like I said, he's
Right.
in the back side, so he's everything's is fine.
And we wouldn't want to approve something that was
Yeah,
later.
no, it's not
Probably
not
something goes with
litigious
it.
at this point.
And then the only other thing that I had is the color, Bethany. If we could lower the temperature on that a little bit to like 3,500 from 4,100, that would be great.
I don't think that's an issue. And in terms of the light that goes behind that, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, the sign company gave us their LED sheet, so we can contact them after the meeting and ask them to change those lights to the warmer color.
Sure, I don't think that's an issue.
Thank you.
No problem.
To 3,500?
Yep,
3,500.
which is neutral white.
So I'm sorry. What did they ask for? 40?
4,100.
41.
Which is
41.
a brighter white,
And we want to go to 35?
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
which is more
more of a
neutral.
warm white.
All right, cool.
Okay, thanks. Mark?
No questions for me?
Thanks. Julie?
I just had a question like Mark's. I'm sorry. I'm losing like what Scott said about the brightness. But if you're gonna bring that down, the sign, I'm good with that then.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
And then the time too, the plan is to be probably off. We're not going to be open till past 9, 10 maybe, if we,
Yeah, the application says off at 10.
yeah.
Yeah, I think I read 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just concerned it was gonna be too bright like the eye doctor building was.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, School of Rock is pretty bright
yeah, there,
It is.
and pretty big.
yes.
You're rocking.
But I was there for dinner tonight, it's wonderful.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Jim?
No comments, great.
Thank you so much.
Cynthia?
Thanks, everybody.
I'm good. Just a curiosity, you're subletting then from, or does he
So
own
yeah,
the
the
building?
landlord. Yeah, so the landlord, the owner, has a lease with the Colin Ringelstetter, who owns Portostino. So I have a lease with Colin from Portostino, But I also obviously have permission from the owner to be there, and he signed off on my lease also. So, yeah,
Good.
see what happens.
Great.
Okay,
Laurel?
thanks, everybody. Oh, sorry.
Looks good. I appreciate, I like the clean design, I like the halo lit behind the red. You know, it's gonna be noticeable without being flashy. It really, you know, it fits the block nicely and
Right.
says what it needs to say.
Yeah, thank
So,
you.
yeah, good.
Thanks.
Great, thanks, Paul, I think it looks great.
Okay, cool. Thanks so much. Have a good night.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you. Thanks, Beth.
Do I have a motion to approve case A-26-2025 with the stipulation that the Kelvin of the halo is reduced to 3,500?
Brillenberger, so motions.
Do we have a second?
Curry, second.
Roll call vote, please, Bethany?
Commissioner Harlow,
Aye.
Commissioner Curry,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulenberger,
Aye.
Commissioner Cernovich,
Aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Willoughby,
Double aye?
Commissioner Willoughby,
Aye.
Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Chairman Cashman.
That one more time.
Unanimous aye.
Okay.
Our next is case A-36-2025, sign permit review for 8 Salt Creek Lane, Endeavor Health, installation of 2 wall signs and 1 permanent window sign.
Good
Hi,
evening.
welcome.
I'm Erin Livingston, the office manager at All Right Sign, here on behalf of Endeavor Health. So we are asking for, as you know, additional signage for the immediate care center.
Laura, questions?
I don't think I have any questions. It looks, everything looks compliant. I'm sorry, why is it that you're requesting 3 rather than 2 signs?
So it's an immediate care center, and if you look at the site map, there's multiple entrances and then faces 2 directions, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So they're looking for visibility, and then they want to have the immediate care title.
Faces Tower on the south, Salt Creek on the east, and then if you're coming southbound, the entrance is on the north side of the building, in the parking lot. Simpler?
Are you done?
I think I'm done, yeah.
So it's a medical offices
Yes.
and then immediate care. The
Yes.
entrance is only in the back of the building though, correct?
On the north side.
Yes.
On the north side.
That would be
Where
the,
the parking
Which I'm
lot is.
saying it's the back of the building, but on the north side.
Depends
That's-
which way you're coming from.
Good point, good point. I'm just wondering why you need 3 signs, you know, why you need, because the immediate care sign, again, is on the east side, am I right? It's the east?
Right as you came up Salt Creek Lane.
I'm getting
But are
confused
you
with
not gonna
direction,
s-
but you got it.
Yeah, no, I'm familiar with
that
the
right?
building, so. So you could come from the north, coming off of York Road through Brow
Right.
Mill, and the first sign you'd see is the one that's facing the parking lot. Immediate care would be past it. And then if you're coming off of Ogden Avenue, you'd see
The other,
the
the
south
Endeavor Health.
elevation and the immediate care sign on the east side. And then you just have to go around from the north side of the building into the parking lot.
Right. Okay, so, yeah, I mean, my question was, is, are people, but they come in one entrance to the building, same place the
Yes.
immediate care would be?
Yes.
Okay. Because I know this is asking for the 3rd sign, and if it seems that confusing, I'd have to go along with it. I just wondered if you could do with just on the north side and the south side of the building, if that would be enough, but you're saying that people would miss,
I mean,
The problem with immediate care is that you need it immediately.
yeah, you're right, you're,
okay?
yeah, you're not,
So-
Good point, so you want to, okay, that was my only question.
Okay, thank you.
Jim?
I'm glad you're making it more findable.
Thank you.
Fewer letters.
Yeah, it's really tasteful for, there's no flashing red or anything, so.
Yeah.
That I saw. Is there flashing red?
No.
Did you see that page
I
with
did.
that?
I
big-
did.
Really?
It's not, there's no page.
I am not in favor of the third sign. I don't see what the hardship is. And I believe when this application, back then it was for Elmhurst, I think at that time they wanted to put a sign way up on top of the building, and they would have had to gone to the ZBA, but I think that was denied by the Plan Commission that many years ago. As all of you know, I don't care for visual clutter, too much signage. I am glad that you took away the signage and the side panels. If you do feel the need that you really need the third sign, is there any way the lettering could be smaller?
Sure. I think the thought was the visibility, like for the immediate care, and with the kind of, like it is kind of confusing.
Right, the whole office park is confusing.
Yeah.
Yes,
Um,
it is.
Are there gonna be any new ground signs put up, changing of ground signs, or?
I don't think so, not at this time that we know about.
Yeah, none that are requested, I don't think.
Can I,
Pardon?
I didn't see any requests.
can I ask
No.
a quick question? What is the third sign? Is it the window sign?
Yes.
Not the immediate care sign?
Yeah, this-
Well, there's 3 in total with the immediate.
I understand that, but the third sign that is the exception that you're asking for us to make is the window sign.
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Or one of the three.
Well, I would think
could
it
pick.
wouldn't be the immediate. That's my point.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So we're not talking about that, okay?
Yeah, maybe the, window sign then should say immediate care.
just gonna say, does
Rather than, you know, to me, Endeavor Health is just another form of advertisement, which I understand that that's what you
Yeah.
want, but, to me, that would make more sense, especially if there's, you know, other medical offices in the building.
Okay.
I don't think you'd see it.
You know,
No, because you have to go into the parking lot to see the third sign.
Right.
I mean, if anything, you could do away with the third sign, but the immediate care on Salt Creek, I think is critical. Because you're driving, if you're looking, someo's bleeding, you know.
You need that sign.
Yeah.
Especially sort of a challenging place to have.
That's why I
that.
said, that's why I was asking,
Yeah.
let's not, let's take that sign off the table and say
Right.
that that's a given.
'Cause
Hold
wasn't-
that
yes,
constant.
that's a given.
That's on your,
Hold
the
that
history of
constant,
it.
and then let's
The
talk
2
about
other
the
signs were in the original permit.
Yep,
The window
immediate
sign was
care
added
sign-
later,
Yes, the one that's on the
north side.
north side is there, the one that's on the east side is there, and actually the one on the parking lot, over where the window sign is,
Yeah.
that is current, all 3 signs are in the same location right now.
Okay.
We just don't have records of approval of that former window sign facing the parking lot.
Correct.
But all 3 signs are generally very similar to what they're proposing right now.
And is Edwards listed on the sign out by Ogden too?
In that panel?
In that panel?
I think so.
That's a good question, but
left
they
space
haven't
for it,
proposed
I
any
thought.
changes. I know that that directional sign has 8 Salt Creek and a directional arrow, but we can check if I don't think their name is on that directional
'Cause I
sign.
remember leaving space for it when we approved that.
And I don't know if they ever added it, but
Yeah.
I know the address is,
Okay.
got we'll double check
Okay.
on that.
Good point.
Yeah.
Good memory.
Yeah.
I feel the same way about the Endeavor Health. If it's, I mean, I know it's confusing back there, but if we're gonna have a sign there, like, I mean, if it's trying to find the immediate care, I think that would be better. But I'm not a fan of adding that sign as is.
At all, or do you have an alternative suggestion?
I mean, if I'd rather have it gone, but if we're gonna have to have a sign there, I'd have it more directional, immediate care,
Good point.
getting people there.
Changed it to, so
Yeah,
2
I
signs,
think
would
How
say-
with the
would you change
McLaren,
it?
it's gonna be harder to
so
see.
2 signs would say immediate care.
Yeah,
The one on Salt Creek and then
Yeah.
the one in the parking lot.
yeah.
Makes
Just if it's wayfinding and with the McLaren, it's gonna be harder
Yeah.
to see from the road and stuff like that too. So I mean, if that's what we're doing.
In other words, it's not a branding sign, it's a
It's
directional
It's-
sign.
Right, it's,
Right.
right, which,
That makes sense.
I could see that,
Yeah,
because,
it's hard to find the doors on these buildings. I mean,
Yeah.
I used
Yeah,
about
where are you
3 of these
supposed to go
buildings
with-
back there. We go through different doors. all
It's
the time.
confusing.
Yeah, so,
thank you.
But
Mark.
sometimes too
Yeah.
much signage
Scott?
can be confusing as well.
that's true too. Yeah,
That's what I was asking about the doors. There is just that set of doors to enter, right? So,
Right.
once you've identified the building, even if you're in a rush, you're gonna drive pretty quick around the building to see where you go in.
Scott, thoughts?
I think, does anybody know who installed the third sign, the window sign? No idea,
I don't,
no clue,
no.
no problem. The color temperature, I'm gonna go back to that again. We are just taking it off of 4100, this is 6500, so this is like the surface of the sun white. And I know we had talked about that earlier, I think with the hospital a little bit, if I recall correctly, with the, right, when we did the signage there, so I wanna make sure.
Did we do it though on the thing that says emergency room? I don't think so.
We
The other
couldn't
signs,
because
I
of the
think so.
neighbors, remember? The neighbors were objecting.
It's true, good
So,
memory, you're right.
so the point is, I think for the branding sign, that's hot, that's a lot of light.
Right. I would
For the
agree.
emergency or the immediate care sign, maybe that is acceptable, but I wanna at least open that up for discussion.
That's a good
Well,
point.
maybe that's a good compliment.
Maybe
Yeah.
the branding sign can be a little bit more
Softer,
subdued.
Yeah.
yeah, a little more neutral. Because
Yeah.
we are trying to get to
I
color
don't know how immediate
standards.
care works. I'm not a user of immediate care so far.
So far, I was gonna
Day
say,
isn't over.
I have a couple of young
But
kids.
if someone said,
he's a user right there.
yeah, okay, I'll just shut my yap on that one. But if someone said go to Endeavor Health for the immediate care, these signs all seem very useful and helpful to me, especially my office was back there. You can't find a doggone thing back there. So, and you're right. Sometimes the third sign is more confusing than helpful, but these all seem useful and helpful, and maybe we can tone it down a bit.
Yeah. Bethany, what was the color ideas that we had? When we were talking about the
For
color
future
temperature of the sign?
recommendations?
Yeah,
Yeah, we typically have been staying in the 3,000 to 4,000 range.
yeah.
I think the Chase Bank sign, but that's a ground sign, so it's a little different. We did just approve something a little warmer, or cooler, but I don't remember the exact color.
Right.
So I'd have to go back and look, but I think there's been a little more discretion, at least on Ogden Avenue versus the downtown for cooler temperatures.
Yeah.
But generally, we've tried to stick in the 3,000 to 4,000 range.
Great,
And we're
yeah,
at
and your
65.
distinction is important too. I think the downtown adjacent to residences,
Right.
but maybe this is something we can find an intersection.
And I like the idea of the south sign, which is the branding sign, being something more like 3,500. And then this one either being 6,500 or 41, whatever they felt like is the most effective in directing people.
Yeah.
Because it's not a brand, it's like,
I understand.
my
No.
child's bleeding.
It's,
We're-
we need you.
Yeah, we need
Yeah.
help. And then, what's the feeling as far as the north sign, the window signs? Among the commissioners?
I think I'm okay with it. You're taking the stuff on the side of the doors
But
down
changing the
too?
font to be immediate care.
Yeah, yep.
So the text says immediate care in the north, does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
Because I do think if you're coming across that bridge by the Humane Society and coming south, you'd see that. No, and that would be helpful.
I agree.
Do you think that would be okay with your client?
Oh, I mean, it has to be.
She's the messenger.
Yeah, so the window sign would read
If
immediate
not, we'll see him
care.
next month,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
The window sign would read immediate care and the other
Right.
signs would be toned down a little bit.
The south one, we'd
Yeah.
looked at 3,500
Okay,
Kelvin on that, and then the east, either 6,500 or 4,100, depending upon what their feeling is on
Okay.
their need on that one.
yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be a problem.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve? I'll try to piece this together. Case A-36, 2025, with the following modifications. The north window sign would be changed from Endeavor Health to Immediate Care in white font.
Oh.
The south branding sign would be as proposed, but with 3,500 Kelvin illumination. Then the east immediate care sign would be either 6,500 or 4,100, based on the applicant, the Endeavor Health's opinion on that.
So moved, Willoughby?
Do we have a second?
Seconded more.
Roll call vote, please, Bethany?
Commissioner
Thank you.
Harlow?
Thank you.
Commissioner Harlow?
Aye.
Commissioner Curry?
Aye.
Commissioner Krillenberger,
Aye.
Commissioner Cernovich,
Aye.
Commissioner Willoughby,
Aye.
Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Chairman Cashman.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, next order of business, we have a public meeting. This is case A-30-2025 for 440 East Ogden Avenue. Exterior appearance and site plan review to allow for repairs to the existing building elevations in the B3 General Business District. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. I'm here on behalf of Lisa Weinberger, our owner for 440. We have some structural concerns on the building, safety issues, and we went through a long process of trying to find out what the best way to address it is. In the 70s, 60s, and 70s, there was a push on modern architecture, and the way they supported the structural elements on this building looked beautiful and lasted for years, but gave way to moisture and gravity. So we got a structural engineer involved. I was there with him for about 3 hours, looking through existing conditions and what the best way to address the situation is. And in his report, which, you know, we turned in, of course, he specifically wanted us to take out the masonry sections between the columns and change it to a lighter material, which is what we've proposed. I tried personally to come into Hinsdale to see if there was an existing blueprint. There is not. You know, the building was probably built in the 70s, I'm guessing. So, of course, we wanted the fix to complement the current design. It literally keeps all the angles in place, but it is a, you know, architectural bronze panel, which we chose because the window frame color is architectural bronze, so that we would have a consistent look around the building. And right now, we're addressing 4 particular spots, but we have this situation that will likely come into play down the road at some point with the other openings. So, you know, we feel that we found a nice aesthetic, complementary aesthetic to the building, and this is what we're proposing.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Let's see, where do we start? Scott?
Did you, I like this a lot. I think what you're doing is intelligent and smart, and it looks good for me at least. Did you carry through, like, if the other elements do fail, the other sections or parts fail, did you kind of like CAD that out or look at what the building would look like if it was done in its entirety?
Okay, this is Greg Starr. He is our architect, and he and I have worked together on multiple projects. That can be done, but it has not been done yet.
Right.
But clearly, the intention is to carry this around at some point, and I don't know what that point is, but over the next few years, I anticipate there's going to be other areas that need to be done.
Exactly. And my,
I think this view would be the best we could imagine.
yeah.
You know, because basically just,
It would just
Mirror it.
apply that
Yeah.
all around the building.
Correct.
And if so, to me, that looks okay. I don't know what else you're gonna be able to do, right? Because you've got.
Honestly, we don't
Your
either.
engineering constraints, I think, are so high.
Right.
That changing materials, you've gotta get into something that's gonna seal it, right?
Right,
So you've gotta solve the water and the weight issue at the same time.
right.
And it's interesting to look at the drawings that you share because it doesn't carry it all the way through, and you're kind of looking at it going, what is, you know, now I understand.
Right.
So,
So what we propose is a fix.
Yeah.
The next time this happens, and it will, we'll come in and we'll have something in place that's consistent with what we did and eventually carry it around the
right,
building.
right. Okay, that's all I got.
thanks, Scott. Mark?
2 things. Thanks, Scott. With that in mind, do you have any concerns with like material availability down the road that would match? I know we get into
Yeah,
like
this
bricks
is,
matching and stuff.
this
you know?
is a commercial standard, these panels.
Okay.
The gauge is a durable gauge, the finish is a powder coated finish,
So you
so
can
it-
match
it's
the match.
long-term.
Okay.
We expect this to be around for a long time.
Okay, all right. And then just from a color scheme perspective down the road, and I'm not saying I'm adding to the project, but like the awnings and stuff, would that be changed from a color scheme
It
perspective?
would eventually all be that color.
Okay,
That's the intention.
okay, so that it ends up being a refresh.
You,
almost,
you
yeah.
bet it is. That's
Okay.
exactly, and it's something that we know we're gonna be able to get.
Yeah.
And it'll save us all having to sit here the next time and figure it out again, and we'll just
Right,
come in and say, it's these openings, and here's what we'd like to do.
yeah, it sounds to me like you have a need and you're heading in the right direction, something that will look good and be functional.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Julie?
I think it looks great.
Okay,
And I
thank
hope
you.
that solves the problem for
Thank you.
now anyway.
Thank
But
you.
it fits in very well. I like the color. So
Okay, thank you.
it looks great.
Thanks, Julie. Joe?
Sorry you're going through this. A little bit of Miami Beach comes to Hinsdale, huh? A little bit of Miami Beach comes to Hinsdale, huh?
Yeah,
Weather and,
yeah,
but it looks great. I'm glad you're taking care of it
Thank
and,
you.
in such a tasteful way.
thank you.
I just have kind of a curiosity question. Do
Sure.
commercial buildings like this have a gutter system of any kind? Like an inlaid gutter or something?
This particular building has parapet walls and,
Yeah.
and there are internal drains that come down through the building
Okay.
to get rid of the water. So that's why there's no
So
gutters.
that's all in working order and
Oh,
that'll
yes.
stay the way it is?
In fact, I helped come up with a roof system, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, so the roof's been completely redone.
Great. The only other question I had, I know you saw these water issues and you will be addressing the others eventually, which I think you've
Right.
done a great job and it's gonna look great.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any reason and you've had a structural engineer, so the
Yes.
water didn't do any damage that would be any kind of an issue with the soundness of this building?
No, and that's one of the reasons he specifically said to us not to touch the columns, to keep those in place because they're tied back, they're tied across to each other and they're tied back to the floor system. And those are in good condition, so that's why we're concentrating on everything in between the columns, going all the way up.
I read that. Your report was very thorough, by the way. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Laurel?
I actually think that this is a very elegant solution for an unfortunate problem, so very appreciative of everything you came up with. And, you know, once the entire building has undergone this transformation, it's gonna look terrific.
Okay.
It's gonna really contribute to the, our Ogden Avenue corridor.
Thanks. We were trying to do something that was elegant, stayed in keeping with the current design, and worked with the weight and other issues that we had to work with, so.
A lot of constraints.
Thanks,
And
Laurel.
I know you're trying to do it in parts, but do you have any idea what the timing might be of the next step and the next step and the next step?
I don't have an exact idea, but I would anticipate probably over the next 2 to 3 years that we'd have more to do.
Oh, quickly.
Yeah.
Again, sorry to hear that.
And just, there's no concern of the soundness of the other two remaining sides,
No,
you know, in waiting?
no.
Okay.
The problem we have here is the angles. And, you know, it was sort of an eccentric structural design. And again, it was beautiful, but now gravity's working against us, rust and corrosion's working against us. And we don't want to abandon those components because they're not entirely bad. And they're tying the rest of it together. So we spent a lot of time on this and we really think this is the best way to move forward, and the structural engineer agrees.
Okay, thank you.
Steve, one last quick question. The windows themselves, they're okay?
The windows, yes.
The windows themselves
Yes,
are
yes, they are,
sound?
and there is one on the second floor, and one of the windows one of the openings that we're doing, that actually has a hairline crack, so that's showing us that the weight is starting to come down in that area, but the frame is still good, we just need to replace the pane.
Got it.
And we'll do that, you know, in
Yep.
keeping with the rest of it.
Good. I have no comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
To I have a motion to approve case A-30-2025 for 440 East Ogden Avenue as submitted.
So move Curry.
Second,
Second, Willoughby?
a roll call vote, please, Bethany?
Commissioner Harlow,
Aye.
Commissioner Curry,
Aye.
Commissioner Krillenberger,
Aye.
Commissioner Cernovich,
Aye.
Commissioner Willoughby,
Aye.
Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Chairman Cashman.
Aye. Say hi to Bill, too. Next order of business is a public hearing.
Yep, thank you.
Have a good night. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing for case A-16-2025 for 620 North Oak Street?
Krillenberger, so motions.
Need a second?
More seconds.
Roll call vote, please, Bethany?
Commissioner Harlow,
Aye.
Commissioner Curry,
Aye.
Commissioner Krillenberger,
Aye.
Commissioner Cernovich,
Aye.
Commissioner Willoughby,
Aye.
Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Chairman Cashman.
Aye. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Patrick McGinnis. I'm an attorney with Donatelli, Coolis, McGinnis, and Schroeder. We represent the applicant, the Oaks Hinsdale LLC, which is the owner of the property 620 North Oak Street. Applicant is seeking approval of their applications for a map amendment, a site appearance and or exterior appearance and site plan review, and a tentative and final plat of subdivision. The property is currently 1.7 acres, 1.1 of which is zoned in the IB Industrial Building District, on which there's a church building and a parking lot. The rest of the property is 0.6 acres. It has 2 single-family homes, a detached garage, and a parking lot. The property was previously used by the chapel and the Hinsdale Baptist Church for church purposes, but it's been vacant and unused for several years now. The surrounding homes are all R4 residential, single-family home district, and the applicant is seeking to rezone the property to be fully in the R4 district, demolish the current structures, and to build develop 7 fully code-compliant lots to build single-family homes on. And in addition to the development, they'll also be providing some public improvements, including installation of a water main on Fuller Road and resurfacing of the road, construction of a sidewalk on Fuller Road, repair and replacement of the sidewalk on Oak Street, where they'll be constructing driveways for the properties that are on Oak Street. In addition to this, they'll also be providing a fee in lieu to the village for what would be the construction of the sidewalk on Franklin Street. The reason they're not doing a sidewalk there is because the sidewalk would require removal of the parkway trees. They'll also be providing a fee in lieu of the code requirements for parklands to be put onto the property, because the requirement would require 0.06 acres of parkland, which is just a little over 2,000 square feet, so it's not a meaningful amount, so that goal can be better accomplished with the fee. Overall, we think the development helps the village to achieve its long-term goals by taking unused industrial building and replacing it with productive residential space. It creates more conformity within the community because it will all be zoned the same. The public improvements will be provided that we just laid out, and the applicant will be developing quality single-family homes for the neighborhood. So we're happy to answer any questions and appreciate your time.
Thank you. Laurel?
So, I guess my concern has to do with the parkland aspect of it. And I don't know that there's really anything that can be done about it. But, you know, the neighborhood is used to having all of this open space where kids can come and ride their scooters and things around the parking lot. Kids can come and play in the yard of the church that, you know, that has been an existing condition for decades now. And that is all gonna go away. But Bethany, maybe this is more of a question for you, is with the way that the code is written, is there any stipulation that a larger amount of it would remain open?
So what the code says, our subdivision code says, is there's a whole calculation based on the density and the number of dwellings and based on the population being generated of how much land they'd be required to dedicate to the village to give that village park space. In this case, as Patrick mentioned, It's about 2,600 square feet of parkland, which is fairly small. That's even just a fraction of one of these single-family lots. And our code specifically talks about how the village doesn't want to take on lots less than 10,000 square feet or under certain dimensional size because of the maintenance cost to the village of getting someone out there just to mow a little patch of grass or maintain park benches. It's just not the best usable space. The other thing to note is that our parkland donation requirements also don't require any improvements. So they could give us a little patch of grass, but then what do we do with it? And that's still village money that we'd have to expend and figure out next steps for. So in a case like this, it allows the village board as the final discretionary, decider to say, we could actually take a fee in lieu of and use that money to actually improve our other parks. So in this case, that's what, is probably the best situation, for the purposes of the village, but that's up to the village board to ultimately decide. And I don't think we have any pieces of property that are that small, even some of the pocket parks that we have elsewhere.
Right, okay.
But it is something that if you wanted to, ask the village board to consider it, it would change their site plan, but it's something that ultimately is the village board's decision.
The village could buy one of the lots
Yeah, that's another thing.
for a little more than
For quite a bit
$106,000.
of money.
Because it is, I used to live in that area, that part of Hinsdale. I remember the Parks and Recs did a study about parks throughout the village, and northeast Hinsdale is the most efficient neighborhood. As far as, there's all the metrics about travel distance from to a park. Pierce Park's there, but it's on the far south edge. Lane School is basically serving as a park. So this 107,000 could basically, or 109,000, could basically go to investments there. But it's an issue in the area.
I'll add two other extra things. Our Parks Department is currently working on a master park plan. So they're actually going to be working with a consultant to look at parks as a whole throughout the village and look at the deficiencies in certain areas, and are there places where maybe the village should consider buying land if something comes up, or creating a fund for that, or even where we can improve our existing parks. As part of this process, when their case went to the village board, we did have one of our parks commissioners come and speak after, and was asking, is the village's subdivision code for parkland donation requirements actually adequate? It is a bit of an outdated code section, so we are actually looking at what other, especially built-out communities are doing with their park requirements and how their population calculations are. So we might be looking at some improvements down the road, just to address our parkland situation.
Right.
So stay tuned for that as longer-term planning.
Yeah, but down the road, 7 new houses will be there, based on this site plan. So it's sort of a missed opportunity at that point.
They can use the fee in lieu of to pay the consultant for the park department.
Yeah, and we do have other parks that do need a little bit of improvements too.
Without a
So
doubt.
this money will actually be quite a bit of funds for our Parks Department to improve some other parks in town. Or for any
Space is
other.
too small for a pickleball court.
This is a little bit too small for even one.
One court.
One court.
Thanks, Laurel. Cynthia?
That was kind of my question as well, and I thought, a missed opportunity for the village to be able to acquire a little property, to have a park in that area of town, but it's almost like this boat is off and running. There's nothing that could be done now, but do we ever look at acquiring property like this ourselves?
So that's something that has come up as part of this discussion, and it came up at the board meeting of, is there maybe a way that the village can create like if we look at how we're collecting some of these park fees, in the future, we could have a park fund that's just dedicated for, if there is a piece of property that comes up and it's something the village could afford, that's something that definitely is on for discussion with that park process and our subdivision code amendments. It's just not in place right now.
I had brought this up once when there was a piece of property available in the Woodlands to have an additional park for the village to have. So, yeah, I'm glad they're looking at it. But
Remember Hinsdale Meadows, that parcel? There was a big pushback before it ended up in James' hands, or James Buller's hands, to actually make that entire area, a big chunk of it is going to be a park.
Really?
Because you could have soccer fields. and
Sure.
Connected to KLM.
Because the last park that was added was Beck Park when they drained the lime pit.
Yeah, so to Laurel's point, this is not, it's not good timing for us, I guess, but something that might motivate us to
Well, it's good to hear
look
that
for more
you're
things in
studying
the
it.
future.
Yeah, we are starting the
Absolutely.
process of looking into other ways we can improve
We
this.
talked about it before too with the Institute of Basic Life Principles, you know, of a park being in that area, because people north of Ogden Avenue are going to Burns Field and crossing Ogden.
Right, they're deficient as
Yeah,
well.
so
Yeah.
hopefully down the road, there could be another park in that part of town to help those people.
Be nice.
Thanks, Cynthia. Jim?
Sad to see a church bulldozed, but I'm glad it's being repurposed for the good of the community. I have no comments.
Julie?
I agree with what Laurel was saying. I wish that out of the 7 lots, one could be a small pocket park. I know the green space, I'm sure, around the church will be missed. And it is a beautiful setting. It's a beautiful building. I'm sorry to see that go. Do you have any plans to repurpose the building? Parts of it? I don't know what the inside looks like.
Yeah, the inside, we've already been donating a lot of stuff. The existing church itself had a sister church that they brought a lot of the pews, and there was like a Noah's Ark in the basement, if anybody had ever been in there.
Okay.
That went over there. We since then have also been donating stuff. We found there was a school in the city that took a lot of the pews, we donated all the Bibles, the crosses.
Right.
So
Good.
we've been
The
working
Bibles
hard.
were in there still.
Because we had so much time.
Okay.
We would clear it out.
Okay,
So
good.
yeah,
The steeple is so beautiful. I mean, even the signage, it just looks to me, reminds me of, you know, a little bit of New England. So I'm pleased you're doing that. Yeah, but I wish, like Laurel said, they could do something with the park, but I understand this is progress. A map amendment is pretty serious. Going from institutional, even going to residential. So that's, I think, a big change. Have you had a meeting with the neighbors about the
Yes.
plans?
Yeah, we've talked to many of the neighbors. We actually had an event when we first bought it, invited all the neighbors over. They were all very supportive.
They are, okay, so no concerns from
We
the
didn't- yeah,
neighbors
not
or
heard
no?
any concerns. I don't think Bethany's heard any concerns
No, we
either.
You had to do a registered mailing?
We have
Yep,
one man in
did
the
that.
audience.
Yeah, we do have an
You know,
audience.
the first,
We have one
first
person
meeting
in
I
the back
had,
there. When we get done with our comments, we'll let you let him speak.
the very first meeting we had there, there were some kids burning a fire in the parking lot. The cops showed up, so, you know, with nobody being there,
Right.
it becomes tough, right, to
Right.
maintain that. So yeah, no, I mean, everybody we've talked to has been very much on board, and just ultimately finishing, it's all houses in that neighborhood, so it would be finished with all code compliant houses.
How old is the building, the current building?
I don't
Do
know
you
the exact.
Looks 60s to me.
60s?
Get that
Yeah.
info.
I don't know.
Never older. That was before you get bulldozed.
It's,
I bet it's 60s.
yeah, that'd be my guess.
Okay, and so then your plans for the sidewalk is you're going to put in one new sidewalk?
New sidewalk on Fuller, sidewalk as needed, which will most likely be new on Oak by the time we're done
Yeah,
with it.
repairs.
And then, we were very open to whatever happens on Franklin, but the village wanted the fee in lieu of, so that they can handle that part at their discretion.
Okay, and then for the 2, I think spruce trees, you'll go in front of the tree board?
We don't have any parkway trees that we're taking out, we're working around all of them.
Okay, I thought I read that there was,
There are
fee.
2 fees that have already been, there are 2 trees that have already been approved to be removed, so we have a
Oh,
parkway tree permit.
There's a
for
dead
that.
pine tree in there. I met John Finnell over there.
okay,
So there wasn't anything, you know, all the big trees are all.
are all going to
stay.
stay?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's
And
an
it was easy
entire
to work
section
across.
drawing at the back
Mm-hmm.
that outlines what's staying, what's going.
Yes, that's,
Anything else?
no, that's all for me, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Julie. Mark?
Yeah, just a couple of questions. So, you know, just looking at so you have 7 large lots, rather large lots.
Yep.
So just looking at the neighborhood, looking at the parcel map on Dade County, you know, will be kind of the exception. Most are 8 lots in that same footprint.
Yeah, the code changed over time.
Yeah, exactly.
So a lot of those are
Okay.
66 lots.
Yeah, so it'll just be a little bit different from a
These will be just a
character
little bit
perspective. But across the street, you have 3 lots in a row, or 3 houses in a row too. So, okay. I'm just trying to think of the overall, I walk that every morning.
Yeah.
The character. So just in general, from a stormwater perspective, I know engineering will review the stormwater, but from a site plan perspective, when I look at the underground chambers that you're proposing.
Yep.
I have concerns with where they're at from an access perspective. These chambers require maintenance and inspections, and just looking at just doing a little homework with the manufacturer, it's like every 9 years they're supposed to be cleaned out. So what kind of restrictions are you gonna have, and you're not supposed to have trees planted over them, or large bushes. So how is that gonna be controlled? From an individual landowner perspective, maintenance requirements, the clean out and the inspection, when we put each one on a lot, they're gonna get
Don't
forgotten.
the landowners own them?
They own them, but nobody's gonna remember, I mean,
I would agree with that.
Yeah, nobody's gonna maintain them, nobody's gonna remember that they're there. If it was a septic, people know when they need to clean their septics out. But this isn't septic, this is stormwater. So
Yeah,
I
we will
just,
be bringing all that information up to the homeowners. We have an entire, on all of our homes, we have a
Hey,
sheet
Ryan,
that gives-
can you go to the
yeah,
podium, just in
so
case it's
people
not
on
being
TV
picked
can
up,
see it.
sorry.
That's all right. For all of our homes, we have a pretty robust binder that we give everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of walks you through, here's how you take care of your house. Here's all the components, here's what you should do. I always preach, people take care of their, they service their cars every 15,000 miles. They wait until something breaks in a home, right? So we do preach that, for all of our homes. This will be part of that, so they know it's an item that they need to maintain.
That's a good idea.
and if I read it right, we're not triggering, we're not having a net increase in impervious area, so we're not triggering.
It's actually a decrease.
Yeah,
Correct,
triggering
and-
the DuPage County ordinance, so
As
it's not
part of their due diligence before, I think you guys even purchased the land, they met with DuPage County with
Yeah.
their stormwater team and looked into a lot of the stormwater ahead of time, and then also worked with LDS, our assistant village engineer.
Yeah, I worry that these devices are supposed to have pretreatment too. I don't, with like catch basins with 2-foot sumps in them. I don't see that you all have any pretreatment. So, I deal in stormwater maintenance.
Okay.
I just worry these are gonna become a problem in 10 years for the homeowner to deal with.
Is this a village standard? I know that you require these, but not a specific model, but if you put in a sump pump or whatever, it has to go into basically a French drain.
We can discuss after this meeting to make sure
Yeah.
there's no engineering issues with LDS and confirm that
And,
there's
and
no
access
official
and
issues.
just, I just worry that we have again, a stormwater management system. I appreciate that you're doing that,
Yep.
providing some. I just worry 10 years from now, it's not gonna operate the way it is, and we're gonna have neighbors, with concerns against somebody else not maintaining theirs. The one person that doesn't know that it's there and maintains it is gonna be complaining about the guy that didn't maintain it next door. So they're gonna be forgotten, in my
So I think if
opinion.
we have Public Works or engineering review that.
Yes, we can easily.
Yeah,
do
and
that.
on the new home plans, there's level spreaders that are going out
Yeah.
in the
Right.
back, and
Yeah.
all the other stuff is all
Exactly.
still going in there.
Right.
This is just the one area that's more tied to the individual lot
Right.
map amendment.
Yeah, and that's my concern,
Yeah.
where
So
they're tucked.
there's other things that will be going.
And they're
in.
tucked in a corner, and they're gonna,
Yeah.
access, even maintaining those the easements, I know you have easements to each of them. But if somebody needs to get a piece of equipment back there to maintain these, there's gonna be shrubs and, fences, all kinds of stuff in the way. I just personally think this decentralized stormwater management approach is not the right way to go for a parcel this big. With that, everything's gonna be landlocked in the back.
Yeah.
That's just my personal opinion. So that's my opinion from a site plan perspective.
We can absolutely work with engineering and make sure those designs are thoughtful, especially when we get into the individual permits, when we have a little bit more details.
Yep.
And I guess related to that, because they're not, some are in the easements, but many of them are not.
No, right. There's
So-
easements to
So
get
they're
to
not
it, yeah.
actually considered a utility.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
These are better than a French drain because there's no way other than digging.
exactly. Yeah.
To fix something like that.
Right.
I imagine with these inspections, you could basically, like vacuum these out.
Right.
Get the
Yeah.
sediment out.
Yeah, you jet them, usually
Yeah.
jet them and then back it up. So,
Is there any
Okay.
way to have that maintenance information somehow attached to the PIN number? so
Yeah,
that-
right.
Well, my concern is when the property turns over, everybody who is
Right.
your buyer will understand, and they'll get the binder, and those binders might even be conveyed to the next generation, the next group of people who move through, but then, the third owner or the fourth owner, that's the point at which the clean out really becomes a more acute issue.
Right.
Will there be?
And by then, the binders might not even be with the house. They might have moved with the second owner and so forth. And so how, like, what's the solution there?
Yeah, and if you've
Typically-
got, I mean, if you have a storm connection that's going to the street, if you've got dry wells, if anything's going on with any of those, down the road, if you're a second, third homeowner, water's gonna build up in that area, right? And that's what's gonna be the telltale sign that something is not working. So it would, in my opinion, still be obvious to that homeowner that something is going on.
Uh-huh.
You know, they obviously have all their surveys and everything. If they meet with somebody, they'll see what's there and then ultimately be able to take care of it if that were to come up.
But to
before
your
it became a
point,
problem.
Laurel, typically on a larger subdivision, like commercial subdivision or industrial, we would, if we were doing best management practices like this distributed, we'd tie it into the code's covenants and restrictions. And I don't think we'll have that with.
No, we
with
won't have
some-
an
'cause this is
HOA.
this
These are
nature.
individual
But that's
properties.
usually the mechanism to, so it runs with the land. I think we don't have that.
But since each of them is, it's gonna have a grate at the outflow.
Right.
I mean, to your point, if it's not working, water's gonna be pooling
Yeah.
up in the back of their lot.
Right.
and Hopefully they'll call the village and figure
Yeah.
out how to.
I just worry then, at that point, having access to get to it without ripping out 200, or, you know.
Yeah, with these lots being
$20,000 worth of landscape.
wider, as mentioned too, there are
Yeah.
wider setbacks on the sides still than a narrower lot as well.
These are where they are.
Each one of those, yeah.
Yeah, so is this the low point of the lots?
That's why
Where
it's split
each of
there.
those
Yeah,
are?
that's why it's
So
split
that's
there.
gonna be graded, so that's the, because we're talking about the 7 parcels here. I'm worried about the people just to the south, right? The neighbors that have been there, that are in the homes just to the south, that didn't sign up for this, right? So I just wanna make sure that the
But
water's
they're
not.
dumping their downspouts just on grade. you know?
Yeah, yeah.
They're the ones that are,
But there's no problems right now, or we'd know about it, right? So
Oh, no,
that'll-
there's problems all the time and stuff because of that.
Yeah, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So my point is
Neighbor
that
wars.
if that's an element of containment,
I mean, this is better than what is in 95% of Hinsdale.
Yeah, I agree. And that's where I don't want to discourage you from that perspective. I appreciate, especially if the code isn't requiring any detention from impervious, but I just worry about putting a
I do know
practice
that, and
in
the village
place
is
that
getting
can't
better
be
at this. If
maintained.
you added a sump pump to your house and you went to pull a permit with the building department, they will require you to put in a French
Yeah,
drain.
that's true.
Right.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So through permitting, they're improving existing homes. But, you know, we have all the old homes. I mean, you see many where they basically legally piped their downspouts out to the curb
the street.
and are dumping the water in the street.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a common violation in Hinsdale.
Right.
So, but I think having engineering, I'm
Yeah.
sure they're involved in this, but having it be involved in your comments about maintenance, I think is important for them to consider.
Yeah, okay. That's all I had. Sorry.
I know
That was
that-
okay.
I wrote down water, so we're good.
Okay. I appreciate the details. I think the civil drawings are excellent. I was just kind of curious on with the 7 lots, the 3 that are on, they're basically on the north side. The west one is going to Franklin, the middle one's going to Fuller, and then I was surprised, and maybe this is just a placeholder, is the driveway on the east one is going to Fuller also versus to Oak. Is there
Yeah,
some
I
thought
mean,
about that?
a bit of a placeholder, you know,
So
on it.
they'll go wherever, based on the design of the house?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And, you know, a lot of them we kind of place based around parkway trees and that kind of stuff on the sides, because that's where more of the parkway trees were. But everything's gonna be worked around that, you know, with ease, but there are flexibility on some of them.
And I did like the fact that you are putting in the sidewalk on Fuller, even though, you know, when you head towards Lane School, it's discontinuous. But I do think in the grand scheme of things that will be added. I mean, I grew up in this area, went to Lane School. Franklin, there's no sidewalks. That's not really, those kids kind of get to a feeder street and then head east to Elm to get to the school. So I think it's smart that that goes in. I know there was discussion at the board level, but I'm in favor of that being there because someday I think they'll connect Franklin to Elm and add another sidewalk there. Especially, you know, now you're in 7 more houses here with kids. So I think it's very well done and I appreciate it. So one question, technical question. So this is, in my mind, this is not a tentative. This seems like a final.
It is.
Okay, so.
But what we've historically done is we've still brought forward it as a tentative and final, because if you read the code, it's like you need to have the tentative approved before the final.
Because we have done tentatives in the past where
Yes.
there were more questions.
Yes.
And they showed us a tentative, and then we approved that,
Yep.
and then they came back later with the final.
If you guys remember, where the old animal hospital used to be on Ogden Avenue,
Yeah.
that had, like, so we have some of these cases where they've come forward where someone has a lot greater than 30,000 square feet, so they're technically triggering an exterior appearance site plan review. And when when it's been a pretty simple case like this, where eventually they're gonna move forward with permitting, do the build-outs and the single-family homes on their own, we still bring forward the tentative and final plat at the same time. Because the point of the tentative plat is like, if we were more in a conceptual stage, they
Right.
have less engineering or grading information. And so because of the nuances of the code, we still bring both together.
Okay.
So we've done that in the past, and we're doing it in this case as well.
So we're just really doing the final tonight.
It will still be the tentative, but it is the
Just
tentative
pretend it's
and
a
final.
tentative and a
Yes,
final? Okay.
because
What's
the
tentative with the
ordinance-
engineering, right?
Yeah.
The ordinance will officially say tentative and final, because in the past, like for, more conceptual or complex cases, they have done the tentative by
Right.
itself, and then you have to come back with the final. So this just saves them time when they've already done all the.
Like Hinsdale
the
Meadows,
detail.
for sure, we did a tentative.
Exactly,
'cause it
even
was
with
so
Vine
complex.
Street, I think in that one, they had a tentative at some point as well. But the bigger ones where we have more conceptual stages, that's when we typically have the tentative by itself.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Where do you build? You were referring to building these houses. I know this is LLC, but who is the builder?
Yeah, so I'm Oakley Home Builders.
Okay.
So we built a bunch in
Okay,
Hinsdale.
okay. I figured there was a connection there.
Yeah, we just
Just to
bought
put
the
the
land under the
LEY in there.
LLC. Yeah. But I'm the owner of Oakley Home Builders.
Okay, excellent. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
What's your targeted sale price or
that was in
range?
Yeah, we talked about that in the last meeting too. It depends, the corner lots are a little bit bigger, those houses will be a little bit bigger, but, maybe 2.5 to 3.5 million, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Great.
Depending, ultimately finishes and selections and all that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay.
Right, thank you. Oh, yes, sir? Did you want to speak?
Thank you for everything that you've said. You basically asked the questions that I had about losing parks or the park space and the parking lot and stuff. I see kids playing there all the time. I'm on Fuller and Franklin, kitty corner from the northwest corner, 321
Okay.
Fuller Road. And yeah, I see kids playing there all the time. But my main concern was stormwater and drainage and stuff. I assume we're going to lose a ton of green space with this. And I mean, we got 15 minutes of rain over the weekend, and Fuller and Franklin was flooded. Fuller and Elm always floods. And I just am concerned about where that water is going to go. It sounds like nothing is going to attach to the storm drains themselves.
No, I believe these, based on the drawings,
It's the
don't those connect?
They're not at this time.
Oh, they're just, they're infiltrate. And then you have, but there are storm inlets on the property going to Oak. Isn't that correct?
I thought.
I mean, on, I don't know, what sheet 4 or 5, there's an inlet, there's a stormwater connection in Oak Street. And then it looks like there's at least 1, 2, 3, 4 storm inlets.
That's the chamber.
Yeah, and so this is the
Yeah, it's like-
overflow.
Yeah, they have an
They
the
have an
chambers have an
overflow that
overflow,
kicks
right?
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they'll but you haven't done any soil testing or anything to see what kind of infiltration rates you'll get with these chambers necessarily, right? They'll
We
probably,
start to do that, it came in good. So
okay,
we're working with
but we generally have pretty tight clay soil, so there'll probably be little mini detention
I have to
basins
see.
though, right? Yeah,
I mean, these,
yeah,
these are all storm inlets
yeah,
and connecting to the storm
Right,
sewer
exactly.
there.
So
So
they'll
there are
top-
inlets on the property
yeah.
between the homes, correct? If you,
You got
well,
the
there's the
tank.
tanks for like downspouts,
Right.
but just over surface, over land drainage, there's multiple storm inlets
Right.
here.
You have your
with storm
inverse.
sewers connecting to Oak Street.
So why is they getting flooding?
If you look at page
Why are they getting flooding?
4 or 5,
Okay.
You on the site created?
yeah, it's the, what's the title here? Utility plan.
Raising them right, Mark.
Because when I saw that, I was kind of pleased that, you have, you're taking care, each house is kind of taking care of their downspouts and their sump pumps, but then you have basically some inlets for surface water to drain the site basically to the east and tie into the main storm source.
Yeah, I mean, under the, and I don't want to speak for Oakley, but under the current, there is no detention at all.
Right,
And
and
so.
there's no inlets, probably.
And no inlets.
Yeah.
And so
Maybe
under
part.
this proposed design, you do have mini detention around the site, at least for the roof drains. And so, and you have a net decrease in impervious area. So
Right.
from a stormwater perspective, it should be a net benefit.
Right, the current parking lot takes up.
Yeah, so, which
Decrease
isn't
in
detained at
impervious.
all.
Correct.
And goes straight to the street. So I, from the perspective of what I see in engineering, a look at this is, I think at the end of the day, it's why it's not triggering the ordinance is because it's having a net decrease in impervious area, right, Bethany?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that would.
So that's not a concern then, you're saying?
That's not a concern. It should be.
Should improve the
It should
situation.
Should
head in the
improve.
right direction.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
that makes me happy.
Yeah.
My only other question would be with regards to construction and construction noise. I don't know if all 7 houses are gonna be built at the same time or spread out over time. It's kind of a insoluble problem in my mind, because if it's 7 houses at the same time, that's a lot of noise. And if it's 1 house over 7 years,
A long time.
that's
Yeah.
a long time. So,
Which would you prefer?
neither. That's why I said an insoluble problem.
Right.
So that would just be my only other concern with that. And I did have the question about the water main. I don't understand what is the improvement for that? Somebody mentioned,
Yeah.
And really
Yeah, please,
quickly,
if you
do you
come
mind
up.
stating your
Yeah,
name for
just
the
so we can hear
record?
it.
And
Oh,
then
yeah.
Ryan, can you go back up to the podium, just so it can get recorded?
yes, my name is Alan, A-L-A-N, Flenard, F-L-E-N-A-R-D.
Right. Thanks, Alan.
So the water main is being replaced on Fuller because the connection is in the street, not the park. The connection to the 2 homes, are you on the north side? Is that what you said? So your home being one of them is in the street instead of in the parkway. So we're running a new water main, putting those connections and connecting them in the parkway so they can meet code. So we're actually taking care of those houses as well, yours being one of them. So right now your water line is connected somewhere in the corner between Fuller and Franklin in the street itself rather than in the parkway.
Oh, the Buffalo box is actually out in the street?
It is.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, and there was, just on that note, there was a leak on Philippa this week, on like Friday night, and in somebody's like right next to their driveway, it just kept eroding. They had to go in the middle of the street, dig out the street,
Oh,
turn the
geez.
Buffalo box.
Yeah, so
I-
those
I
were-
didn't realize there's Buffalo box in the
Wow.
middle of the street.
So those were engineering comments right away where
Right.
they knew about it. So we're fixing
So
that.
you're helping with that.
Yep.
Ryan, can
Excellent.
you speak to the construction timeline as well?
Yeah, I can answer that. I mean, ultimately, I can't look into a crystal ball and tell you exactly how it's going to go, but we are looking to develop the southern lots first. And I can't build 7 houses all at the same time, you know. So, but I also don't want to be building 7 houses for the next 7 years either. So I think we're going to be aligned when it comes to that construction schedule. We're going to be working on the southern end, likely one right after the other on those properties, and then work our way to the northern end. Okay? So kind of like a phase 1, phase 2.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
It's interesting, looking at this utility plan, these individual detention areas, they are actually connected to that
Yeah,
storm main
with the
too.
overflow.
There's an
Yeah.
overflow out to.
Yeah,
that
which
main.
I would hope, because the soils are so tight in these
Yeah.
areas, I don't
Yeah,
think you're
everything's
gonna get
clay, yeah.
infiltration. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Alan.
Can I ask one
Yes,
more
please.
question? The style of the homes that you're putting in, are you looking at some of the things we have in place in the village of trying to maintain? Or is it whoever wants to buy the lot and the house, they can do whatever they want? Or are you guiding them any direction to try and keep things
do. I mean,
integral to the neighborhood?
We do both design and the build for all of our clients. If we're doing even a one-off house, we look at the neighboring homes, help them to try to create something that complements it. In this opportunity, we have an opportunity to have each home complement the next one, but we also do want them all to look different. So we'll be coming up with different designs, but it fits well within the neighborhood.
Good.
Yep.
Good
Unlike
questions.
the one by the Kensington School.
Okay,
They're all the same.
do I have a motion to approve, wait, first, close the hearing? Bethany? Do we have to close it first?
We can also, if there's no more discussion, we can have the motion, then we can close it.
Helen, are
Okay.
you finished?
Do I have a motion to, but the vote is after we
We can have
close
the
it?
vote if we're ready, and then we can close the
Oh,
public
okay,
hearing.
gotcha. Do I have a motion to approve case A-16-2025 with the request that village engineering work with the applicant and review the individual stormwater detention for the 7 properties and focus on ongoing maintenance over the years? Does
So
that
moved.
address that?
Yeah, it does, thank you. So moved, Willoughby.
Do I have a second?
Second and more.
Roll call vote, please, Bethany?
Commissioner Harlow?
Aye.
Commissioner Curry?
Aye.
Commissioner Krillenberger?
Aye.
Commissioner Cernovich?
Aye.
Commissioner Willoughby?
Aye.
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Chairman Cashman?
Aye. And now can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Krillenberger, so motions.
Do we have a second?
Curry, second.
Roll call vote, please, Bethany?
Commissioner Harlow?
Aye.
Commissioner Curry?
Aye.
Commissioner Krillenberger?
Aye.
Commissioner Cernovich?
Aye.
Commissioner Willoughby?
Aye.
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Chairman Cashman?
Aye. Good luck, thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Krillenberger, so motions.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, okay, 7 new lots.